Hello friends, welcome to today's video. I wasn't sure if there was going to be a video today because I don't know if you can tell from my voice, I'm sick, which isn't fun. I had a great birthday on Wednesday, great dinner out, great evening, and just at the very end of the evening I was starting to feel like a real soreness in my throat. And when I woke up yesterday it was like sore throat, totally woozy, headache. It was a bad day yesterday. I'm trying to blitz it with like vitamin C and drinking lots of liquids. And I'm actually, today, I don't have the sore throat. I don't have the headache so far. I'm feeling a lot clearer mentally. I just kind of still have a stuffy nose and like stuffed up head, like my ears keep popping and stuff. But I wanted to sit down because I have like some fun fun. I have stories to tell. How about that? Over what's happened in the last week. And I thought my poor skin with like blowing my nose and like doing no skincare yesterday or anything, I'm going to use a mask and just add some hydration and do a mask with me. If you've not seen one of these before, basically I put on a mask, you put on a 10-minute mask at the same time. I keep track of the time. I put on some lovely relaxing music. I tell you some stories about stuff that has nothing to do with beauty and skincare. And then at the end, it's 10 minutes is up and yeah, we all take off our masks. I think this story will stay in 10 minutes. If not, I'll tell you when the 10 minutes is up. You can go wash off your mask and then maybe I'll continue the story. We'll see. I think that's all to say. I feel like I haven't done one of these in a little while. So let's get to applying our masks. I guess I should mention this is not a review of this mask, but I will link to the review of it down below. Okay, I'm starting the 10-minute timer. So I want to tell you a story about Monday night. I've mentioned before I have a partner, a boyfriend. We've been together for a number of years. We live separately. So he actually lives in a building in the same area where I live, but we do live separately. So Monday night, I was staying over at his place and it gets to be about 2:30 in the morning and the fire alarm goes off, which is always terrible. I mean, anybody who's ever lived in an apartment complex or anything like that, like when you get false alarms and you're woken up in the middle of the night, it's just terrible. And the screaming noise of the alarm is so loud, and my partner has a cat and the poor cat freaks out because it's just so ear piercing. So you know, we kind of hang out for a couple minutes just to see if the alarm's gonna stop right away, because sometimes that happens and then that saves, you know, he lives on like the 7th floor, so it saves from having to like run up and down stairs and stuff. But after a couple minutes it hadn't gone off yet, and I said, well, what I'll do is I'll like throw on some non-PJ clothes and head downstairs with my phone and like see what's up and like send you a text and let you know what's happening. So I head out into the hallway and go around to the stairwell, and I get sort of halfway down the first set of stairs and I'm like, oh, I smell smoke. This isn't a false alarm, I smell smoke. So I immediately called my partner and said, get the cat, get yourself, get outside. Like, it's real, it's not a false alarm. And at that point, I was like, oh, this isn't, you know, I think I'd gone down one floor and it was like, I smell smoke. And that's not great. So I went out into the hallway and out and into another staircase. And it was like, I still smelled smoke there, but like the staircases are all made of concrete and there were other people who were leaving there. So I was like, I'm just gonna go down this set of stairs. And as I went down one more set of stairs, it's like now I like see the smoke in the air and it's like really noxious. And so the last like 4 stories or whatever it was just like dense smoke, getting through the smoke, getting outside. And as I got outside, it was like around the time the firemen were arriving, and it was like, oh my God, what's going on? Of course, nobody is like in charge of the situation. There's no person who has any more information than I have. So, I mean, I know some of the people in the building, it's a really good community. So I was saying like, what's going on? What's up? Somebody said like, it's on the 5th floor. And, you know, that was all. So I was kind of like looking around. I was also looking for my partner because I didn't know where he was, which was a little scary. And I also figured I wasn't going to be texting him because I knew, and this is, we're going to fix this, is that his cat's carrier was in the storage locker because it's such a huge carrier. So he was going to be carrying the cat in his arms. And I knew if he was doing that, then he wouldn't be able to be sort of texting and stuff at the same time. So I was feeling, I didn't let him know this, but I was feeling a little bit of panic, like looking around trying to find him. And then he sent me a text saying like where he was, because there's no one place to gather around the building. So he was over in a different spot, and I went over, and he had also had to come through like dense smoke. And at that point we sort of looked, and you could see on like the 5th floor, one place where there was just like black smoke billowing out of one of the places. Firemen were going in, like hoses and everything like that, and you just could smell this like terrible smell of burning stuff that shouldn't be burning, like burning plastic, burning just terrible noxious kind of stuff. And that was at 2:30 in the morning that we went outside, and nobody really knew what was going on. It was a cold night. Like I was in my shorts and a shirt, and I was starting to shiver. We ended up going into, like, because my building is close by, they did bring in a city bus for people to go on to keep warm. We ended up going into like the vestibule of my building. We could have come up to my place, but we wanted to stay close and see what was happening. I've been around other fires before that have spread really quickly, so we didn't really know what the situation was going to be, like fire or smoke damage or anything to my partner's place. And I didn't want to say anything because I knew that he was worrying about it, and me saying anything wasn't going to make it any better. So we were outside or in that vestibule for like a couple of hours, 3 hours, something like that. And then, you know, it seemed like things were wrapping up. They had put out the fire. At that point, they were starting to use blowers to like blow the smoke out of the stairwells and things like that. And we were told we could go back inside. At this point, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. And just even walking up the stairs, you could still smell that terrible burning plastic kind of smell. When we got up to my partner's floor and actually walked onto the hallway, it smelled clear there. We went into his place. There was like no damage there whatsoever. So that was good. But the problem is, and I mean, of course this is their job to do, is that when firemen go to put out a fire, they are not worried about property damage. They're worried about putting out the fire. Luckily the building, like I've seen other fires in like historic buildings that are like wood framed, and they just go like crazy. I think I talked about one of those that I saw like within the last year. But you know, the fire damage stayed within the one unit, but they, you know, just douse it with water. So there was in that one damage, and I think that one unit and in that hallway there was smoke damage, but from there and everywhere down was flooded because it had just been like doused in water from fire hoses. So, you know, all the hallways were flooded, other people's units were flooded. And it was just, yeah, it was scary and it was tiring, and we didn't really know what was going to happen. And we feel incredibly lucky that his unit wasn't one that had a problem with it. But, you know, it makes you realize a few things. Is first of all, like, what things are important. You know, we were outside and we had like the pets and everything, so that was all good. Also about how important apartment insurance is. So we were in that vestibule with a couple of other people that we know who also have cats, so it was kind of like the scared cat area. And there was a guy in there who seemed like a young man, maybe like late 20s. And he was sort of saying like, oh, that's going to be expensive for, you know, the building to do. We were saying, you know, their insurance and that kind of thing. And he's like, oh, but in all the units. And we're like, well, the building doesn't cover inside the units. That's everybody's apartment insurance. And he was sort of saying, what? And we're like, the building goes up to like your doorway, but inside your actual unit, that's your insurance. And like the person who's, you know, where the fire started, like their insurance. Sort of a moment, and he stopped and said, I guess I should get on getting that. It's like, oh yes, like for the like less than $20 a month you spend on apartment insurance, it is incredibly worth it. So yeah, my partner and I were like exhausted the next day, kind of in a daze. Now they got right on the remediation of it. It's like 5 o'clock or like 6 or 7 o'clock the next morning. They were in there with like blowers to dry everything out and try to like mitigate the amount of damage there was. There's definitely going to be damage, and it's just going to be such like so disruptive for the people who've had like water damage and smoke damage. But yeah, I mean, have apartment insurance. Don't ever assume anything is a false alarm. Know where your exits are to get out if there's smoke. And just know that if something like that happens, like, you're not really going to have any information. There's no like leader who is telling us what was going on. So yeah, I don't think being out in the cold that night led me to being sick. I think I caught a cold from somebody, but it probably didn't help. And yeah, that's kind of been my week. It's been like quite a week because it's been like, you know, evacuating, being totally out of it the next day. Then it was my birthday, and I've had like some good things happen, like job hunt wise, but then, you know, birthday and then getting sick, and there's stuff I have to do to like prepare and study for this like job interview thing coming up. So I'm trying as much as possible to just like have all the vitamin C and liquids and rest that I can to be like fully functioning for Monday when this thing happens, and over the weekend when I need to study and that kind of thing. So that has been my week. It's been a lot. There also may not be a video on Monday because I'm just doing a lot of other stuff preparing for that. But I wanted to sit down and tell you guys my sort of crazy story about what's been going on in my life. And yeah, it was a lot. It was almost like retroactively scary. Like, I got down and got out of the building and I didn't feel that scared, and then I sort of started really thinking about it because I had like a cough the next morning from like inhaling that smoke on the way out through the stairwells, and I sort of got retroactively scared of what had happened because I realized like how scary it was, or at the time I was just reacting to it. That's our 10 minutes. Yeah, I did get through my story. That was what I wanted to tell you guys about. It's been quite a week. I'm gonna go wash off this mask. You guys do the same because we've now reached our 10 minutes. If you like these kinds of videos, give this a thumbs up. That way I know to do more of them. And yeah, leave me any comments you want to down below. I try to respond to them as soon as I can. It sometimes takes a while. Thanks so much for joining me, guys, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.